Trading cricket, racing and football, you're listening to the Sports Trader Podcast, brought to you by thesportstrader.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be bringing you another Football Formlabs webinar. And I'm joined once again this afternoon by Nick from the Formlabs team. And he's going to take us through the process the guys at Formlabs use to analyse a game in Formlabs Black to find value from injured or missing players. He will also share the websites he uses to get the latest up-to-date team news. So I'll hand it straight over to Nick. How are you going, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Hi, guys. I'm just going to take you through how we would look at, just for this webinar anyway, is how we look at Premier League and the different matches and try and find some missing players. As Tony said, that could have a big effect on what value the team should be for a win, goals market. And as I would do this process, I would go into Formlabs here, go on the match data page, and up in the top right here, you have all the different games you can go through. Then you can have a quick flick through the games. We can see Palace Newcastle's first. So the first site I would look at to have a little look at who's injured and who's coming back from injury is a site called Who Scored, which is quite good for giving player ratings in the main big leagues. And if you right click on there, we can see that in this game, the main key players, they do it underneath here. We've got Milivojevic is out with a red card. James Tompkins is a good centre-back for Palace. He's out. Wilfred Zaha has been out due to coronavirus. He's isolating. Then if we look over at Newcastle's side, Ryan Fraser's just come in. Callum Wilson's scoring some goals, but it's not confirmed that he's definitely out. So another good site we'd then click onto to then confirm them both up. I'd go into team feed. If we go down to Palace, they have got all of them as out for this game. All of those players. So definitely Milivojevic and Zaha. And Zaha has been pretty crucial for Palace this season and multiple seasons. Then if we look at Newcastle, yeah, they've got Ryan Fraser out as well. But interestingly, Callum Wilson isn't in their list, so he's probably going to be playing. And then another, just for the Premier League only, Team Feed can do all of those different leagues for injuries, but it's probably not quite as accurate. So it's good to do your own research and typing players into Google and making sure to see who's out.
Yeah, I've got Callum Wilson as playing, and it looks like Matt Ritchie and John Joe Shelby are under consideration to start, but Lascelles is doubtful and Ryan Fraser's out. So. Yeah,
Lascelles is a late fitness test here. Yeah. Ryan Fraser still a week away or so. That was on the 26th of November, so he's potential, but the other sites are saying he's out.
Yeah, so I think you'd have to consider it that Callum Wilson's playing.
Yeah, no, I definitely would, yeah. And so once we've got that information from there, we can come in here. Let's just use the Formlabs page to get an idea. I always filter to the furthest away season, all games, then generate that. This just gives us an idea of what the team's form is, home and away, goals they've been scoring, halftime score, and then we can use these filters as we've shown before in webinars with Tony. So Palace lost to Burnley away last time out, didn't score. It's a pretty poor result seeing how bad Burnley have been. Then Newcastle haven't exactly been in that good a form either, but Southampton and Chelsea are both good sides. If we just filter that to away for Newcastle, they've beaten West Ham, drawn with Spurs, Wolves, and lost to Southampton. So that's a tough run of fixtures away from home for Newcastle.
Also, Nick, I like looking at sort of what's happened just in recent years when the teams met, and Newcastle have lost. Well, they haven't won. They're winless in their 5 most recent Premier League visits to Selhurst Park. They've drawn 3 and they've lost the last two. So they're in bad form anyway, and they don't really do very well here.
That would probably be my next stage. You go head-to-heads there with those filters.
Right.
And yeah, you can see if we just go home results for Palace there. Palace have a pretty good record at home to them. But yeah, we only do back to 15-16, but if I wanted to go back for further data, I'd probably go to Soccer Base. What would you use, Tony?
Oh, I just use Formlabs, mate. There's everything I need in there. It's just an incredible tool. But it depends how deep you want to go. I mean, you can look at some crazy stats. It's the good, not the Good Friday, the Black Friday sales are on today. But if you look at Fridays, I mean, how serious to take this? Crystal Palace are winless in all 12 of their top flight league meetings played on a Friday. So is that relevant? Yeah. They've drawn 5 and lost 7. So does having one less day to prepare damage them? I don't know. But when you look at a stat like that, people would just dismiss it out of hand.
Yeah.
But if they're winless in all 12 Friday games, how can you back them to win on a Friday until that changes? It just depends how serious or deep you want to take stats, doesn't it? Everybody's different.
I think it's all about weighing up which stats are important. It's like the weighting of different stats, like that Friday one.
There's 2 massively conflicting stats there that Palace haven't won on a Friday in any of their 12 games that they've played, but Newcastle haven't won at Selhurst Park. So you're starting to think, well, you're probably looking at a draw then and looking at the value in that. We'll see what you come up with, but it just depends how deep you want to go. People can look at 50 different websites, or they can do what I do and just use Formlabs and come up with same results or completely different. You carry on, show us what you're going to do.
And then I think the one factor that's looking out to me here is what we got: 1 goal there, 1 goal there, 2 goals there, no goals there, 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal. So they are, just generally speaking, very low scoring ties. I know the majority of those would be Rafa Benitez being defensively minded at Newcastle, but that's the same as Palace. Don't exactly score that much, even though I'm pretty sure, didn't they score 4 in their last home game against Leeds? But I feel like Leeds is one of those teams which is just a hit and miss. Sometimes they can come out with 6 goals. Sometimes they hold out for a 0 draw like against Arsenal. I don't think we'd look into those 4 goals too much. But yeah, the key factor here is from those injuries, we would then...
Well, while you're just finding that, I think the fact of the 4 goals against Leeds is just the way that Leeds play. They just go all out, full on attack. It's their style. There's always going to be a lot of goals in Leeds games. We've seen that all season. They play and they're not going to change. Whereas Newcastle are always looking for a point away from home. It's always, defend first and see what we can get from there.
Definitely. So I think the key, if you don't know much about a team, this is also a good point. Who scored can be quite good just for highlighting the injured key players. If I click on Palace, I know everyone probably knows everything about Palace, or the majority know all the players and everything. But if it was a team you didn't know, it would learn this loads. It gives you their rating. Like automatically, we can then say, okay, so Townsend's probably quite a key player for Palace. Wilfried Zaha, key player. Schlott, key player. But then it is important to also look at appearances. If they've only started 1 or 2 games and got a high rating, then it's probably a bit...
See, that conflicts massively with me for what you find in Formlabs. When we go back to Formlabs later and have a look at the player analysis tool, I think you'll find, I might be wrong, but I think you'll find that according to Formlabs player analysis, when Andros Townsend's in the side, it actually makes no difference to their win or loss rate, whether he's in or out. Whereas Zaha, you're going to see a massive shock when he plays, and I'll hold the stats back until you get to that. But it seems to me, looking at what Formlabs show us, that it doesn't actually make a huge difference with Townsend being in and out.
Yeah. So I think what's important is the reason I say you need to look at appearances and the rating for a team you don't know is that, as you said, Townsend might not make a difference, but you don't want to then be taking a relatively unknown player who's going to play against all the weaker teams, and then he's going to have a really good record when he's playing in the side and not.
Yep, it's a fair point.
So here we got Wilfried Zaha here. We'll go into our player analysis tool. For those who don't know how to get there, you just go onto the main Formlabs page, and then it's just that players tab there, which I preloaded here. What I would do, I'd normally go seasons, where you can go this and last season, all venues, include former players, started the match we want, and has played at least 60 minutes. We can then run that. We get back. So if we look at this table here, it's saying since the start of last season, Jeffrey Schlopp has had the biggest impact for the team, for the games that he has been involved in compared to what he hasn't been. So they have a 44% improved record, percentage of average points per game relative to the team row. So he essentially has a 44% positive impact on the team. And he's actually just returning from injury.
Well, it says they win 50% of games when he plays, and they only win 4% when he's out.
Yeah, load that back up. It does. If you are doing analysis on quite a lot of players, it does time you out, the Formlabs site a bit. Yeah, so there'll be this run here, which is the impact. So this is since the start of last 1920 season. On the left here is the games that he's started and played at least 60 minutes. On the right here is when he hasn't. And look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lost 9 of the last 10 without him.
And the only one they won was the Leeds one, which we know is an anomaly anyway.
Yeah. So
you dismiss the Leeds game, and it's basically 9 losses out of 9.
And they didn't score. 1 goal, 2 against Chelsea.
There are some decent teams in that run. You've got Liverpool, Leicester, Chelsea, Man United, Chelsea again.
Yeah.
Everton. So they have had a tough run, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. But you want to see them, I guess, Schlopp midfield. You'd want to see them at least getting some goals against those teams. But yeah, you do got to wear it off against how tough those opposition are. And then we look on the left here, those games, it's slightly easier getting wins against Fulham, Southampton. Man United were a bit off at the start of the season. You got Norwich, West Ham. But yeah, Schlopp is a player who's coming back, so that could have a slightly positive impact. But the main man we're interested in was Wilfried Zaha is out and Milivojevic is also suspended. He's captain and quite a key man on the field for them. If we click on him, we're actually looking here. They actually win a lot more without him, but if you look at some of their results, it's Wolves, United, Chelsea, Leicester. So from a Formlabs perspective, we would almost overlook that. We know that he's a leader on the field for Palace, and we can't see that much impact based on a statistical side from him.
Well, it was the same sort of thing, Nick, we discussed in a previous webinar. That if you went through this and have a look at Steven Gerrard when he played for Liverpool, they actually had a higher win rate when he was not playing. Yet they always thought he was such an influential player and so important, but Liverpool won more games. I'm not sure if it just meant the team lifted because he wasn't there and a lot of players maybe felt he'll carry them and didn't perform as well. But when he was missing, they had to lift, and they actually had a better strike rate when he was not in the side.
Yeah, sure. If anyone's watches quite a lot of Palace, you'll know that Wilfried Zaha is basically the heartbeat of the team. Everything flows through him. He had a bit of a quiet season last year. last season, but he's back on it this season. And because he's been there a while and been their top man like he is this year, I'm going to filter it back to 15 to 16. It's only a 6% average points better, but if we go and click into those games...
Look at the minus 27 when he's out.
Yeah. Where has he gone?
2 down. There he is.
Minus 27, yeah. That's a big swing.
It is a big swing.
Here he is.
Well,
that's a pretty ridiculous run without him, isn't it? On the right here.
Yep. Well, it's 33% of games they win with him playing, and it's only 24%.
They've lost 16 of their last 19. One against Fulham, that Leicester win back in 2018-19. This season, Burnley, terrible team, and they've lost 1-0 without Zaha last time out. I think the thing I'm most interested in here is how many times they failed to score. 13 of those 19.
Well, that's probably why Andros Townsend has the rating that he does, or why it seems that he's a key player, because if you've not got Zaha, I don't see many other ways that they're going to score.
So then, obviously, it all then comes down to price. So I think the one thing that we've seen from this is that from the head-to-heads, I think the key points are, as Tony said, on Friday, whether you want to take that into consideration, Palace have a terrible record. The head-to-heads have all been low scoring, and without Wilfried Zaha, they've really struggled to get on the scoreboard.
Well, yeah, I've got down. They've lost 14 of their past 16. I think you just mentioned, Nick, it was 16 of their last 18 without him. So Palace at 2.4 at home with no Zaha are not a value proposition for me.
No,
I think the draw at 3.3 is probably the value. Then you add the fact they haven't won any of their last 12 Friday night games. They don't like playing on a Friday, and Newcastle are ultra defensive, and you look at the last 6 games, there's been, the 7 goals or something, or 8 goals in the last 7 meetings between them.
Yeah. Which is, and
Callum Wilson back for Newcastle.
Sorry?
And Callum Wilson being back. So it's,
I think if you also look at those Zaha results, they've lost 1-0 to Burnley, 1-0 to Spurs, 1-0 to Spurs again, Southampton, Burnley, Liverpool, Everton. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's nearly half those defeats, all being 1-0 losses.
Yeah.
I think there's, with Callum Wilson back in the team for Newcastle, I think there's probably a tiny bit of value there on just backing a 1-0 scoreline for Newcastle. We don't expect there to be many goals. And then I'd also couple that with Palace under 0.5 goals, just because we don't want to go 1-0 for Newcastle if we're not completely certain on them getting the result.
No.
And without Zaha, I can't really see them scoring. And
in fact, we mentioned earlier, Nick, they're not in great form. They've only won 2 of their past 7 games. They've lost 4 of them, yet incredibly, they have led for 395 minutes this season, which is second only to Tottenham. So, I mean, there's another stat that's incredible. It seems that they're taking the lead in games and then losing. So you probably can't take Newcastle well. But without Zaha, how are they going to score?
Yeah.
Newcastle's just going to build this black and white wall, sit, flat back 8 and try and hit them on the break.
Sure. That's
a good one to analyse.
That's why there's not enough about Newcastle to tell me that they're definitely going to win, even without Zaha.
Well, they've only won. Newcastle's only won 1 of their last 7 away games. They've drawn 3 and lost 3, but then their tally of 11 points is more than they had after 9 games of the last 2 seasons combined. So they'll think they're in great form. It's a really tough game.
No, 100%. So I think my takeaway bet would be the Palace under 0.5 goals, 3.3.
Okay, show the viewers where you're getting that one from. What's that bet? Is that available on the exchange?
So it's on the Betfair exchange here.
There it is. Crystal
3.3.
Palace over under 0.5 goals.
I mean, there's only been £4 matched, but
Well, there's plenty of time till the game time, but that's virtually saying, just for those that don't understand, that you're saying Crystal Palace won't score.
yeah.
Okay, that's what the bet is. So it's to say that Crystal Palace over or under 0.5 goals. If they score one goal, then your bet would lose. If they end, so you're virtually saying Newcastle will win the game or it will end 0-0 with that bet, guys. That's what Nick's looking at with.
And yeah, I think I'd probably have a tiny. So if we were talking points based on your betting account, I'd probably have a point on the unders and a 0.25 on the 1-0 Newcastle.
Okay. I'd probably just, if you can just go to the match odds for us there, Nick. Oh, you can see them underneath. It's okay. They're down below.
Yeah.
I didn't see them. I'd probably be looking personally at laying Crystal Palace at 2.4. And the reason I say lay Crystal Palace is that gives you the Newcastle win and it keeps the draw on the side. So if it was 0-0, you'd win. If it was 0-1, as Nick suggested, you'd win. If it was 1-1, you'd win. You've covered everything there. It's better than just backing Newcastle for the win, because then if it's 0-0 or 1-1, you're going to lose your money. Sometimes the lay is the better option, keeping the draw on side. But it's virtually in line with what Nick's saying. If Crystal Palace don't score, as he's suggesting, then my bet would win as well. So either way, laying Palace gets you Newcastle in the draw, and Crystal Palace under 0.5 goals would also mean you must win. I guess if it's 1-1, your bet would go down, whereas mine would still win.
Yeah.
But it's also, mine's got more liability than yours. You're only going to risk your stake. If you were to back that, say you did it for £10, you're risking £10 to win 23 on your bet. And my one, I'm looking at, if I laid for £10, I'm risking 14. So a little bit different risk reward there. But I think, Nick, we're virtually looking at the same angle on the game, that Crystal Palace is going to struggle.
Well, I think it's all based around, I don't think Palace are going to score. So yours has got a tiny bit more risk adverse in terms of you've got the 1-1 covered probably.
It does, but at least with my one, it can keep you in the game a bit longer. If Palace come out and score in the first 5 minutes, your interest in the game's over. Whereas with me, if Palace score in the first 5 minutes, I've still got 85 minutes for Newcastle to equalise or even go on and win the game. My bet would stay in play a little bit longer. Sometimes going with those 0.5 ones, you can be out of business within a couple of minutes. And I just like to sort of give myself every opportunity to have my bet land.
Sure.
But anything else on that game, do you think?
Well, that's about it from that one.
Do you want to have a very quick look at Formlabs? Just have a quick look at the head-to-head for us, Nick, where we were. Let's just have a very quick look at the half-time performances between the two. In the last 8 head-to-head, you see 5 of them there have been 0-0 at half-time, and the other 2 have just had 1 goal in the first half there. You can see the original game right back in 2015, the anomaly in the group 5-1 was 3-1 at half time.
Newcastle have only scored 1 first half goal in the last 7.
And then let's just have a very quick look at this season, what Newcastle have done away and what Palace have done away at half time.
At home, or
just at home. What Palace have done at home this season, we can see them there. It's only the last 4 games. You don't have to change anything. Just you can see the halftime score there.
Away home,
So they're 3-1 leads. So there's 1-0 and then 2-1. They were down against Everton and it finished that way, and then 1-0. So it's been strange, hasn't it? You look, 4 goals, 1 goal, 3 goals, 1 goal. And Newcastle away have really stuck to form. 0-1, 0-0, 0-1, 0-0, 0. So any of those we'd be more than happy with.
But there's definitely, you probably don't take it too much in consideration, but Palace have been known, especially last season, under the same manager and everything. Look at all these 0-0 first halves. At home, they Well, I don't think they hardly scored a goal in the first half last season, as we can see there. But yeah, that's obviously changed a bit this season. And
Well, that was with Zaha in the side last year, but he was just terribly out of form, wasn't he?
yeah.
And he's a different player at the moment, but he's not in today.
That reliance definitely stopped being on Zaha last season. They just realised that he was out of form. But I think he has 5 goals, 2 assists from his 7 appearances this year, which is I think Palace have 12 goals in total this season. So he's contributed to 58%. Pretty key man, if you ask me.
Well, I guess we'll find out around 8 o'clock tonight how it all looks. Will you be trading the game live, Nick, and having a look at the live logic during the game, or are you just going to stick with that pre-match and just go with that bet?
I think just the pre-match, and then I might do a bit of live stuff on the weekend.
Right.
Do a bit of research later for it. Yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'll just be laying Crystal Palace pre-match and probably just sticking with it unless I was to notice in the first half that they were absolutely battering Newcastle. I mean, this could happen if Newcastle decide to just sit deep and allow Palace to come onto them. And Palace are just getting 4 attacks for every one of Newcastle's. Then I might have to reassess it.
Yeah,
because I can't see the Palace price drifting too quickly if that was to be the case. But I would love Newcastle to nick an early goal and put me in a really nice position. Then I'd need 2 Palace goals to knock me out, and that would be fine. But I'd be looking to lay Palace at 2.4, and I'd probably look to exit at 4.8, close the trade. If Newcastle score first, that will happen. And if it's 0-0 after around 60 minutes, that will happen. So either one of those. And I'd be happy.
Yeah. Well, I could definitely see that being 0-0 at half-time.
All right, Nick. Well, thank you very much for your time again today. And thanks to the team at Football Formlabs for all you're doing to keep us up to date with all the latest stats and facts. It's a superb product, one I've used for, must have been 7 or 8 years now. And I highly recommend it. If any of you would like to get Football Formlabs, you just go to footballformlabs.com. And if you use the code SPORTSTRADER, very kindly allowed us to give you a 30% discount on Formlab Black and 20% discount on Formlab Max. There's 2 different types there. I'll just get Nick to see a subtle difference. So I think there's just one's got the live logic and one hasn't.
If you, for what we've spoken about today with the player tool, that's Formlab Black. So that's the 30% discount product, but slightly more expensive. And that will get you the live logic, the in-play queries, the player analysis, whereas the Formlab Match is just for the team data, the pre-match queries, the match data. And then there's also another part of it is the forum up here on the top left will give you any tips that we are doing for various bookmaker sites, just any angles we come up with, any long-term research pieces, just go check it out and have a look if you want.
Yep, that's great, Nick. And of course, they can go and for free join the Football Formlabs mailing list, can't they? Where you send out your weekend every week. I'm really looking forward to the Formlabs guys' analysis of Chelsea versus Tottenham on Sunday. That's going to be the game of the weekend, and we'll really test out the credentials of Mourinho's men, see if they're the real deal. They got the job done against Man City last week, and if they beat Chelsea on Sunday, I think you would have to put them in the serious category for top 4, definitely, but possibly even Premier League, especially with Man City so far down at the moment. Liverpool are out of sorts. I thought we had the bet of the season backing them in the Champions League at home the other night. I thought, well, that's the safest bet you can ever have, and they got turned over. So that was just football's just got mad at the moment, hasn't it?
It has. But yeah, hopefully Tottenham don't manage to do it, but we'll see.
Well, we'll see. It'll be a good game. But all right, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks to all the team there at Formlabs, and hope to do more of these with you, Nick, throughout the season. They're great. The guys in the Telegram rooms and on Twitter, they're loving the webinars that we're putting out on Formlabs. So Good luck for the weekend with all your trades, and I'll talk to you soon.
And yourself. Thank you very much, Tony. Cheers, then.
So that was Nick from the team at Formlabs. Good luck if you are having a bet on the game today, and enjoy the Black Friday sales, and have a great weekend. Bye for now.